everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be raving about ghost stories and telling you a ghost story that I heard at boarding school. Okay, so before I tell you the ghost story, I'm gonna explain a little bit about my experience at boarding school. So I went to boarding school when I was 12 to 18. And a lot of you are going to think that's really young, and it is, but there were kids as young as 8 years old there, and I think that's just way too young, because when you're there, you're expected to do everything. Like, you're supposed to do your own laundry, you clean the bathrooms, you do the sweeping, that sort of thing. So basically all the things you do as an adult, you're expected to do at boarding school. And also, I heard someone else explain boarding school as like kid jail, and yep, that is accurate. At least when I was there, that's what it was like. There were literally bars on the windows, and we used to live in these cubicles that were just 3 wooden walls and a curtain. There was not a door, so you had no privacy. And it was tiny. It was like the width of a doorway, and then the length was like just a tiny bit longer than a single bed, like not even a meter longer than a single bed. So it was so cramped, and you know, you're living with 200 other girls just constantly screaming and being loud, and it was an introvert's nightmare. So yeah, that was my boarding school experience, and I've heard they've made some improvements, like when you're 16 you get your own room now, so that's good. But yeah, I had a terrible experience at boarding school, and the way these cubicles were set up, they were all like in a row, so kind of like how it's set up for the military barracks, I would guess. And then yeah, the bathrooms were the same, like all stalls in a row, toilets on one side, showers on the other side, no privacy whatsoever. And yeah, it was a nightmare. But anyway, rant about boarding school over. Today I'm telling you a ghost story that I heard at boarding school. The first boarding house that I stayed at was converted from an old stable, so it had 2 levels, and on the second level there was no wall on one side. So if you imagine a barn with a loft, that's exactly what it was like. And it was really dangerous because, you know, people or things could fall off that second level onto the first level. And yeah, because a box fell off one time and hit me in the face, it broke my nose, but that's another story for another day. Yeah, my boarding school experience was dangerous and terrible. Anyway, back to the ghost story. So, because this was an old converted stable, they actually did have horses once upon a time, like before I was there, and the girls were actually allowed to ride horses, and you know, they would take care of them and stuff. And it was a thing back, I think, in the 50s. But then one of the girls was riding her horse one day and doing some jumps, and if you know horse riding, you know it can be pretty dangerous falling off. And the horse decided that it didn't want to jump that day, so there was an accident and the girl fell off. And this is a true story, like this actually happened. So the girl fell off and she was injured and she died. And yeah, because this place is like in the middle of the bush, it's really difficult to get medical assistance. So the girl passed away. from this accident, and after that the school decided that they weren't gonna allow horse riding at the school anymore. So I don't know what they did with the horses. I'm assuming they like rehomed them to farms or something. But anyway, because of that accident and the girl's death, they decided not to have horse riding at the school, but they decided that they were still going to keep the stable and convert it into a boarding house. And that is the boarding house that I lived in when I was 12. And the story goes that this girl's ghost still haunts the boarding house. So at night, sometimes you can see her floating along the hallway. And this is how the beds were set out. They were all in a row in those cubicles. So it was said that some nights you could see her ghost floating down the hallways, crying and like asking where her horse was. So yeah, it's a really sad story because, you know, the girl actually did die. I'm not sure about the ghost part. Like, I never saw her ghost when I was there, but my friends and I at the boarding school were talking about it one night, and two of the girls, they insisted that one night they had seen this ghost. Like, they said they were there on their own because everyone else had left for the holidays, like gone home for the holidays, and they were the only two left. And because their parents lived far away, they had to like come a bit later. So while they were there that night, they said they saw this girl's ghost like floating down the hallway and crying. And of course we were all like, yeah, right, you didn't see the ghost, you know, that sort of thing. But the way they talked about it, like, they fully insisted that they saw this ghost, and it wasn't like they were making it up. Like, even when we all said, yeah, right, you're not telling the truth, they said like, well, we saw her and we know the truth and that's all that matters. So I don't know, what do you guys think? I never saw the ghost, but I do believe in ghosts. So what do you guys think? Do you think that this ghost is like still haunting this boarding house? I'm not sure if they still have that boarding house, but if they do you think that ghost would still be there? I'm just trying to think how they would make the boarding houses like into rooms for like when you get your own room, because like, would you have the cubicles until you're 16 and then move into a room? And then like, I don't know, maybe they made like the first floor into rooms and then the second floor is still cubicles. I don't know. But yeah, I hope they fixed that second floor and like at least put a wall in, because it was really dangerous and not safe for children. But yeah, you know, that's what boarding school was like back then. Anyway, that is the spooky ghost story that I have for you. I think it's a little creepy because a girl actually did die. I think she was around 15 at the time. I'm not going to mention the name or anything of the school, but yeah, that was one of the ghost stories I've heard. If you'd like to hear more, because, you know, these old boarding schools have been around for hundreds of years, so there's like all these spooky stories that go along with them. But I never saw any ghosts when I was at boarding school, but I did hear some stories. Anyway, if you want to hear more ghost stories, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!